Hi everyone. Mastering React hooks is building block of React app development. I'm creating a short series of videos to go through all the hooks in detail with code to cover the most basic to complex use cases. We will be covering useState, useEffect, useContext, and some advanced hooks like reducer, callback, memo, ref imperative handling, layout, and transition, use ID, and some library hooks. And at the end of the series, last video will be covering the custom hook development in detail, how to share the functionality between different components, and how to build API calls. Let's start with the most basic hook, useState. We can build a simple component and use the state. So we can retain the state inside the component. So with every render, it will use the updated state rather than resetting the variable values. Let's create a couple of constant variables outside the components to hold the names. So let's call name 1 Jon Snow, name 2, let's call it Skywalker. The purpose of useState is to handle reactive data. Any data changes in the application is called state. When the state changes, UI would react to update the UI. The hook takes one default parameter, which sets the default or initial state of the hook. The function returns an array which contains two values. The reason these are returned as an array is to be able to destruct these as local variables and use them in your application or in the component. First argument in our case is reactive value, which is name, and second one is a function to set the value of name. Now we can set it to initial value to name 1, which is Jon Snow. Now we can create some markup to display the name. So let's say we display the name inside a div inside h2 heading, and we display the name there. And then we need a button to change these names. So button's functionality is going to be just calling a callback function and change that name from name 1 to name 2, or basically just toggle between two names. So that's this is to demonstrate the state change inside the component and how the variables are reacting and how the component is retaining the state. Just a click handler, and in this click handler we're just creating it inside. Best is to move it outside the button element and use the use callback, but we'll deal with that later. So simply we'll check if name is equals to name 1, then we'll toggle it to name 2, otherwise we'll set it to name 1. So here we are calling the set name function of React state to set the name variable here. Let's give this button some sort of text. Let's make it really big. Change name and update state will do. Behaves, and how does it look? So as we can see, it's displaying the initial state of Luke Skywalker, and then we can change it by clicking the button, and it's gonna toggle between the two names. So as we can see, it's retaining the state. So every time we press the click, basically component re-renders, and if a state variable is not used, we will lose the value and it will be defaulted. So let's create another variable which is not the state variable, it's just a constant. So we let's make it so we need to reset it, and we set it to name 1, So let's move this condition up. Let's make it a let so we can reassign it. Let's see. Okay, so as we can see, without the state, it's stuck with the Jon Snow. On the click, we are trying to set it to a different name, but as you can see, it's retaining its initial value. That's because it's not as set as a state variable, and it's just losing whatever is set with every re-render. So state basically retains. That's the basic use of useState. And next we will discuss useEffectHook, which will be part of the next episode, which I will try to do as soon as possible, hopefully within the next week. Thanks a lot for watching the video. Hopefully you guys gonna subscribe and keep coming back to the channel for some good content.